The big screen lit up in the Earth government building, showing a blue light that made everyone look sick. Jake Morrison, the human ambassador, fixed his tie as something appeared on the screen. It was tall, looked like a giant bug with many arms, and had huge eyes that seemed to stare right through people. "Hello, simple creatures from the third planet," the bug thing said in a robot voice that came from the translation machine. "I am High Judge Clix Theta from the Galaxy Rule Council. We have come to give you one last warning." President Lisa Carter sat up straight in her chair, holding the armrests so tight her hands turned white. All around the big room, people from every country on Earth and the space colonies stopped breathing and listened. "Your kind has broken the rules we made 3,000 years before you even learned to make fire," the alien kept talking. "You have built homes on 17 star systems, where you are not allowed. You have put mining machines on planets that belong to us. You have not listened to our warnings before." General Pete Barnes, the boss of all Earth space soldiers, felt his teeth pressed together hard. The allowed zone the council talked about was just a tiny bubble around Earth's sun, barely big enough to include their first colony near the closest star. "So," High Judge Clixatheta said, "the council has decided. You have exactly 37 of your Earth days to take all humans away from the 17 illegal homes. If you do not do this, we will kill every single human in the galaxy." The room filled with shocked whispers, but the alien was not done talking. "Do not think you can argue with us humans. Your technology is like toys. Your military has only simple guns and basic rocket ships. The Council has already destroyed 43 other species who said no to warnings like this. You are like tiny bugs compared to our great power." The alien image started to fade away, but High Judge Clixatheta had one more nasty thing to say. "Enjoy your last days, Earth creatures. Maybe when you evolve again in 1,000,000 years, you will learn to respect your betters." When the alien disappeared, the big room became completely quiet. President Carter was the first person to speak, and her voice was calm even though what they just heard was terrible. "General Barnes, call Admiral Susan Wells right now. Tell her to start Protocol 7. The general's eyes got wide. Protocol 7 had not been used since the colony wars ended 15 years ago. "Ma'am, are you sure? That will show them everything we have been hiding." "Yes, everything," Carter said. "It is time for the galaxy to learn what happens when someone threatens human families." As people started leaving the room in quiet, worried groups, nobody saw the small smile on President Carter's face. The Galaxy Council had made a big mistake when they tried to spy on humans. They had watched human trade ships, mining operations, and civilian colonies, but they had never found the secret war fleets that had been quietly moving into position all through human space for the last 10 years. The aliens thought humans were weak because they only saw what humans wanted them to see. For decades, while the galaxy watched humans dig up rocks and build peaceful colonies, humans had actually been building the strongest military force anyone had ever seen. Every mining ship could become a weapon. Every trade route hid military supplies. Every peaceful colony had secret weapons buried underground. The Galaxy Council ruled through fear, threatening to destroy any species that did not obey. But they had never met a species like humans before. Humans had been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. They knew how to hide their strength. They knew how to make enemies underestimate them. And most importantly, they knew that sometimes the best defense was a really good attack. President Carter walked to her office window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12 hidden fleets of human warships were getting ready to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. The Council thought they were dealing with scared colonists who would run away at the first sign of trouble. They were about to learn that humans do not run. When someone threatens their families, their homes, and their freedom, humans do something much more dangerous. They fight back, and when humans fight, they fight to win. Admiral Susan Wells received the message about Protocol 7 while standing on the bridge of her secret battleship, the UES Defiance. Around her ship, hundreds of other warships that officially did not exist began powering up their weapons and engines. These ghost fleets had been built in hidden shipyards, crewed by volunteers who had trained in secret for years, and armed with weapons that would surprise every species in the galaxy. The Council had given humanity 37 days to surrender, but President Carter knew something the aliens did not. Humans had been ready for this war for 15 years. The only question now was whether the Galaxy Council would survive what was coming next. As night fell on Earth, children looked up at the stars and wondered what would happen. Their parents tucked them into bed and promised everything would be okay. And deep in secret bunkers around the world, the greatest military minds humanity had ever produced worked through the night, planning something the galaxy had never seen. The Galaxy Council thought they were the apex predators of space, the ultimate rulers who could destroy any species that opposed them. They were about to discover that Earth had produced something far more dangerous than apex predators. Earth had produced humans. And humans, when pushed too far, become something that even apex predators learn to fear. The war for humanity's future was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Susan Wells stood on the command deck of her secret warship, the UES Defiance, watching the biggest military movement in human history happen around her. Through the huge window, she could see hundreds of ships appearing from hyperspace, jumps, destroyers, battle cruisers, and the massive warships that were not supposed to exist according to any public records. "Admiral," Captain Tony Rodriguez called from his control station, "we are getting secret codes from Ghost Fleet 7. They are now in position at the Kepler 442 star system." Wells nodded with a serious look. The Ghost Fleets were humanity's biggest secret. 12 complete battle groups that had been built in hidden shipyards throughout the outer space regions. While the galaxy watched humanity's simple trade expansion, humans had actually been building the most powerful military force anyone had ever seen. On the planet's surface below, Commander Beth Parker was managing the movement of civilian people from the 17 colonies that the aliens called illegal. But calling it evacuation was not really true. They were actually moving normal people to safe places while turning each colony world into a military fortress. "Ma'am," Sergeant Kyle Davis reported to her, "the mining stations on planet Kepler 438b have been completely changed into weapon platforms. We now have enough firepower there to destroy a small enemy fleet." Parker smiled at how funny the situation was. The Galaxy Council had watched humans strip mine asteroids and build what they thought were simple mining operations. They never realized that every mining laser could be changed into a weapon that could destroy ships, and every ore transport ship could carry enough explosives to blow up a moon. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Brooks was putting the final touches on humanity's greatest surprise weapon. Deep inside the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, the quantum communication array was coming online, a system that would let human forces talk to each other instantly across dozens of star systems. "Quantum Link is now working," she announced to the group of important officials. "We now have instant communication with every human settlement, every ghost fleet, and every defense position in our territory." President Carter, who had been watching the final preparations, stepped forward. "Dr. Brooks, can the Council listen to our communications?" "Impossible, Madam President. They would need to understand quantum science at a level that our spies tell us they have not reached. To them, it will look like we are talking to each other through mind reading." The president turned to speak to the room full of military leaders, scientists, and diplomats. "Ladies and gentlemen, in 22 days, the Galaxy Council expects to find 17 empty star systems and a defeated humanity ready to crawl back to Earth like beaten dogs." She stopped talking for a moment, letting her words sink into everyone's minds. Instead, they are going to find something that has not existed in this galaxy for 3,000 years. A species that fights back. "Captain Amy Foster, what do we know about their military plans?" Captain Foster, the head of alien intelligence, stepped forward with a computer tablet in her hand. "Ma'am, our secret spies have confirmed that the Council is planning to make an example of us. They are putting together the largest punishment fleet in galaxy history, over 2,000 ships from 47 different alien species." "What are their weak points?" "Too much confidence, ma'am. They are treating this like a parade to scare us rather than a real military operation. Their fleet is designed to look impressive, not to fight efficiently. They have no single command structure, no joint training, and each species is bringing their own different technologies that do not work together." General Barnes leaned back in his chair with a grin. "So they are bringing a circus instead of an army." "Exactly, sir. Meanwhile, every human ship was built using the same plans, uses the same weapon systems, and our crews have been training together for 15 years. President Carter nodded with determination. Very well. Send a message to all human settlements, all ghost fleets, and all defense positions. Operation Homecoming begins now. As the orders went out through the quantum communication network, something amazing was happening throughout all of human space. For the first time since leaving Earth, humanity was completely united. The old country borders meant nothing when facing total destruction. American pilots worked with Chinese engineers, Russian military planners coordinated with Brazilian space, Marines and African commanders worked together with European fleet captains. The species that had spent thousands of years fighting each other was about to show the galaxy what they could do when they all fought as one united force. In hidden bases throughout human territory, families said goodbye to their sons and daughters who were joining the secret fleets. Mothers hugged their children who were becoming soldiers. Fathers shook hands with sons who might not come home. But nobody cried, because everyone knew this was not just about survival anymore. This was about proving that humans deserved their place among the stars. On colony worlds, miners put down their tools and picked up weapons. Trade ship captains opened secret weapon lockers they had carried for years but hoped never to use. Scientists who had spent their lives studying peaceful things now worked day and night to build bigger guns and stronger shields. The Galaxy Council had made one critical mistake in their planning. They thought humans were just another weak species that would surrender when threatened. They had never studied human history. They did not know about the wars humans had fought against each other. They did not understand that when humans are pushed into a corner, they do not give up. They become more dangerous than anyone could imagine. In 22 days, the Council would arrive expecting to find empty colonies and defeated humans begging for mercy. Instead, they would find something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. They would find humans ready for war. High Judge Clixitheta stood in the control room of the Galaxy Council's biggest warship, the Eternal Dominion, watching with happy satisfaction as his huge fleet came out of hyperspace at the edge of human territory. 2047, ships from the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy spread out in a formation designed to make enemies feel fear and terror. Scan all the star systems, he ordered his Valanthe tactical officer. I want to confirm that the humans have left their illegal settlements like we told them to. The scan results that came back made the High Judge's compound eyes narrow with confusion. This cannot be right. Scan everything again. Sir. The tactical officer's voice carried an unusual shake of fear. The readings are correct. All 17 systems show more human activity than before. They have not left. They have brought in more people and weapons. High Judge Clixitheta felt something that humans might call worry. In 3,000 years of Council threats, no species had ever chosen to fight instead of running away. Maybe they need to see what we can do. Order Squadron 3 to destroy the mining stations in the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Wells watched from the command bridge of the Defiance as 47 alien ships moved toward the Kepler 442 mining station. To the Council fleet, it looked like a simple asteroid mining operation. A few processing plants, some cargo ships, nothing dangerous or threatening. Ghost Fleet 7, you are clear to attack. Wells spoke into her communication system. What the Council ships did not know was that the mining station was actually a massive weapon platform. The mining lasers had been changed into ship-killing particle beams. More importantly, they had not found the 30 human warships hidden in the asteroid field, their heat signatures masked by the mineral composition of the space rocks. Captain Linda Hayes, commander of Ghost Fleet 7, waited until the alien ships were well inside the kill zone. All units, execute attack pattern Alpha. Let's give the galaxy a proper introduction to human warfare. The surprise attack was devastating and brutal. Mining lasers, now revealed as military-grade weapons, shot out from what appeared to be simple industrial equipment. Human warships emerged from asteroid hiding spots like ancient predators, their weapons already locked onto targets. The Council's Squadron 3 found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and completely unprepared for the level of coordination they faced. In 12 minutes, 47 alien ships were reduced to floating debris and emergency beacons calling for help. High Judge Clixitheta stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. How is this possible? Our intelligence report said they only had primitive bullet weapons and simple rockets. His communication officer, a nervous Altarian with too many tentacles, spoke up hesitantly. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. It is addressed to you personally. The holographic display turned on, showing Admiral Wells standing calmly on her bridge. Behind her, the distinctive shape of human warships could be seen through the viewport. High Judge Clix Theta, Wells began, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had never lost a battle. I am Admiral Susan Wells of the United Earth Space Command. I believe you have something that belongs to us. What could you possibly have that we would want? The High Judge replied, his confusion clear even through the universal translator. You have our attention, Wells said with a cold smile. And now you are about to learn why that is the last thing you ever wanted. The Admiral made a gesture, and her tactical display showed the true scope of human military presence. Ghost fleets appeared on sensors throughout the star system. Not just a few ships, but hundreds of them, all moving toward the Council's positions. You see, High Judge, you made the same mistake that bullies have been making throughout human history. You thought that because we are new to the neighborhood, we do not know how to fight. The display changed to show the wreckage of Squadron 3. You were wrong. We have been fighting each other for 5,000 years. We have made warfare into an art form. We have turned destruction into a science. And now, for the first time, in human history, we are all fighting for the same thing. High Judge Clixus Theta was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. What do you want from us? I want you to deliver a message to your Galaxy Council, Wells replied. Tell them that humanity rejects their threat. Tell them that we will not abandon our colonies, we will not return to our prison, and we will not bow to threats from species who mistake age for wisdom. The Admiral leaned forward, her eyes hard as steel. And tell them that the next council, fleet that enters human space, will not receive the mercy we showed Squadron 3. There will be no warnings, no negotiations, and no survivors. The transmission ended, leaving High Judge Clixus Theta staring at a blank screen while alarms began sounding throughout his flagship. His fleet was discovering what Admiral Wells had chosen not to tell him, that the ambush at Kepler 442 was just the beginning. Throughout the star system, Council ships were finding themselves under attack by human forces that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Captain Rodriguez aboard the human destroyer UES Thunder watched as his ship's weapons tore through an alien cruiser's shields like paper. Target destroyed, Admiral. Moving to next contact. The Council had expected to face a few dozen human ships with primitive weapons. Instead, they found themselves fighting a coordinated fleet of advanced warships that used tactics they had never seen before. Human ships would appear from behind asteroids, fire devastating volleys, then disappear again before the aliens could return fire. Even worse for the Council, the humans were not fighting fair. They used the asteroid field as cover. They coordinated attacks across multiple star systems at the same time, and they seemed to know exactly where every Council ship was at all times. High Judge Clixus Theta watched his tactical display in growing horror as red dots representing his ships began disappearing one by one. In less than 6 hours, his mighty fleet of over 2,000 ships had been reduced to fewer than 800, and the humans were just getting started. All ships, retreat to hyperspace, he finally ordered, his voice hollow with defeat. But even retreat was not easy. Human ships pursued the fleeing Council forces, picking off stragglers and damaged vessels. By the time the remnants of the Council fleet escaped into hyperspace, they had lost over 70% of their forces. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galaxy Council was in full retreat. And throughout human space, the message was clear. Humanity would not be pushed around anymore. The war had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 442, the Galaxy Council chambers on the ancient world of Zenthari Prime had never been so quiet. Representatives from 400 species sat in shocked silence as High Judge Clix Theta gave his final report on what was now being called the Human War. 17 major battles, he read from his tablet, his voice empty with defeat. 437 Council ships destroyed, 68,000 personnel lost, 0 human casualties reported. A sound of disbelief went through the chamber. Counselor Vexithari of the Andromedan Alliance spoke up, her translator turning her alien speech into galactic standard language. How is that possible? 0 casualties? The humans, Clix Theta replied, fight differently than any species we have ever faced. They do not fight with honor. They use tricks, lies, and what they call surprise warfare. They turn civilian buildings into weapons. They hide military ships inside trade operations. They attack multiple star systems at the same time using technology we cannot detect or stop. Supreme Chancellor Morden, the ancient leader of the Council, leaned forward in his floating throne. What about their fleet strength? Our scouts reported seeing only a few hundred ships. That was a deliberate lie, Supreme Chancellor. Our intelligence now shows they have at least 3,000 combat ships, with more being built at hidden shipyards throughout their territory. They have been preparing for this war for decades, while we thought they were a primitive trade species. The chamber filled with angry sounds from different alien species. Chancellor Morden raised a scaled hand for silence. What do they want from us? Clix Theta turned on his holographic display, showing a star map of known space. Large parts of it were now highlighted in blue, human territory. They demand recognition of their control over all systems they currently occupy, 97 star systems in total. They demand the right to expand into any empty territory without Council interference. They demand equal representation in the Galaxy Council despite being a single species rather than an alliance. And if we refuse? The High Judge's compound eyes seem to grow dim. They have made their position clear, Supreme Chancellor. Any attempt to limit human expansion will be considered an act of war. Any species that attacks human civilians will face what they call total warfare, the complete destruction of military and industrial capability. Chancellor Morden was silent for a long moment, thinking about what this meant. The Council had kept galactic order for 3,000 years through superior firepower and the threat of species destruction. Now they faced an opponent who not only matched their military power but seemed to actually enjoy the idea of combat. Have they shown any willingness to talk and make deals? They have sent an ambassador, Supreme Chancellor. President Carter herself is coming to Xanthari Prime aboard their flagship. 3 days later, President Lisa Carter stepped into the Galaxy Council chambers wearing a simple blue suit and carrying herself with the quiet confidence of someone who held all the winning cards. Behind her walked Admiral Wells and General Barnes, their military bearing a clear contrast to the fancy robes and ceremonial decorations worn by council members. Carter took her place at the speaker's platform and looked out over the assembled representatives of 400 species. When she spoke, her words were translated into hundreds of languages at the same time. Honored members of the Galaxy Council, she began, I stand before you today not as someone begging for your approval, but as the representative of humanity. A species that has earned its place among the stars through determination, innovation, and strength. The chamber was completely silent. For 3,000 years you have kept order in this galaxy through fear. You have told younger species when they could expand, where they could settle, and how they should live. You have treated the galaxy as your personal kingdom and yourselves as kings. President Carter paused, letting her words sink in. That time is over. She made a gesture, and Admiral Wells turned on a holographic display showing the current political map of the galaxy. The blue regions representing human space were now much larger than any single council member's territory. Humanity offers the council a simple choice. You can recognize us as equals and work with us to maintain galactic stability. Or you can continue to oppose us and discover what happens when a species that has spent 5,000 years perfecting warfare decides to take the gloves off. Supreme Chancellor Morden leaned forward. You would threaten the entire galaxy? No, Chancellor, Carter replied with a slight smile. We would free it. Do you know how many species have asked to join human space in the past 6 months? 47. They are tired of your restrictions, your taxes, and your arrogance. They want to be part of something better. The president stepped closer to the council's central platform. We offer protection to any species that wants to govern itself. We offer trade partnerships based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. We offer exploration and expansion for those brave enough to reach for the stars. She turned to address the entire chamber. The galaxy does not need kings. It needs partners. Join us in building something better than the Council's empire of fear, or step aside and let us do it without you. As President Carter's words echoed through the chamber, something amazing happened. Several council members, representatives of younger species who had suffered under council restrictions for centuries, began to clap. The applause spread, growing louder despite the angry protests of the older council powers. Supreme Chancellor, Morden realized that the balance of power in the galaxy had completely changed. The humans had not just won a military victory, they had won the hearts and minds of species who were ready for change. 6 months later, the Galactic Cooperation Alliance was founded with humanity as its leading member. The old council kept control over their core territories, but their age of galactic rule was over. Throughout human space, new colonies grew under the protection of the ghost fleets. Trade routes expanded as species discovered the benefits of voluntary cooperation over forced tribute. Admiral Wells stood on the observation deck of the newly built UES Harmony, watching as human and alien ships worked together to build a massive space station that would serve as the Alliance's new headquarters. Captain Rodriguez joined her at the window. "Think they will try to attack us again, Admiral?" Wells shook her head. "The smart ones will not. They have learned what every bully in human history eventually learns. There is always someone bigger and tougher waiting in the wings." She smiled as a group of young alien engineers floated past the window, working alongside human technicians to install the station's new quantum communication system. Besides, we are not just showing them our weapons anymore. We are showing them our dreams. And dreams, Captain, are much more dangerous than battleships. As the stars turned overhead, humanity continued to do what it had always done best: adapt, overcome, and build something better than what came before. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity wanted. The end.